welcome to our video, a little bit more detailed disassembly of our Ruger Mark IV 2245 Lite. We are going to be taking this apart a little bit further than we did in our field stripping to get a few more parts accessible to us. So the first thing that we want to do is make sure that we're adhering to all of our safety rules. All guns are loaded, keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction, and keep your finger off the trigger. What we're going to do now is we are going to unload this firearm. First thing that we'll do is we will put the firearm on safe. Then we're going to take out the magazine, clear the chamber, lock the slide open, visibly and physically check and make sure that our chamber is empty. And then our firearm is unloaded. In order to perform the field stripping on this, we're going to send the slide home, press our takedown button, and take down the firearm. And there we have our field stripped firearm. What we're going to do now is go a little bit more in depth into the process. We're going to need a couple of tools to get started. We'll need a 1/8 inch punch, and we'll also need the bit for taking our grips off. We're going to take our grip panels off, and this is the particular bit that is needed to take off these grip panels. Also, what we're going to have is safety glasses, because we're going to be working with the magazine here, and there is a good spring in here that has a lot of tension. And anytime we're working with springs, we also have a spring here on our guide rod. We want to make sure that we have safety glasses. So we'll put on our safety glasses. We have all of our tools, and now let's get started. All right, so now we have our gun field stripped. We're going to go ahead and take off the grip panels now. Now, the reason we might want to take off our grip panels is if we wanted to change them. There are several different options of grip panels on the market, and some of them might feel better to you than others. Some of them might have the aesthetic appeal to you that others do not. So the easy thing to do here is just unscrew our grip panels. And they come right off very easily. And it says right there, do not over tighten your grip screws. That's a very good tip there. We do not want to over tighten the grip screws. Here on this side, when we take these out and we are getting ready to remove our grip panel, we may have to angle it just a little bit to clear our slide stop. Anytime you're working on your firearms and taking things apart, you want to make sure that you keep the parts of an assembly together. So as you see, I kept the screws for this side panel on that side and this side panel on this side. Again, we do need to just angle this out so that it comes out from underneath our slide stop. All right, now we are going to remove our guide rod and recoil spring. We're going to do that by lifting up on the back of it to release the tension. Then you need to carefully pry it out of the front and with your fingernail or a screwdriver, and then it will come out and you'll be able to have your guide rod and recoil spring free from your bolt. All right, let's move on and let's disassemble our magazine. We would disassemble our magazine to clean it and to make sure that everything is functioning properly. Sometimes the magazine feed springs could go bad and we might need to replace them. The first thing we want to do is we want to take out the snap caps that we have loaded in here. So we've got our snap caps out, and then we get our 1/8 inch punch. We're going to go to this hole right in the bottom of the base plate, push that down, slide your base plate forward a little bit. You want to keep really good control of this because there is a very long spring in here that feeds your magazine. So when you slide your base plate forward, make sure that your thumb is there to capture your spring, and it's going to come out pretty rapidly. You're going to see that it's very long. Sometimes it gets hung up. Then you can let your follower come down and you can pull the pin, and your follower is all going to come out. You want to make sure that you clean your follower and clean the inside of your magazine as well when you are after you've used your firearm a lot of times. So there you have it, a more detailed, in-depth takedown of the Ruger Mark IV. All right, let's go ahead and start to reassemble our firearm. I'm going to go ahead and put the grip panels back on to get them out of the way. Make sure that on this side we get the grip panel to slide underneath our slide stop, and you align them with the screw holes. Go ahead and we will tighten those down. But again, just like it says on the firearm, do not over tighten these. Don't make these too tight. You want them snug, but not too tight. Because the last thing that we want to do is strip out those bushings that are holding the screws in. So we've got that side on. Turn it over and do the same on this side. Remember, not over tight, just nice and snug. And if you wanted to change your grip panels, this would be the great time to do it. Make sure that you have the correct screws and the correct size grip panels that are made for these guns. Now we'll go ahead and we will put our guide rod and recoil spring back in. Make sure that you line up the half moon piece there into the slot for it, and make sure that you do push forward on the guide rod to get the ears down so that they are flush. So this is under a little bit of tension. Great, so all of those things are put back together. The next thing we need to do is get our magazine put back. So we want to make sure that our follower goes in properly and that the thumb button goes back in as it is made. You can go ahead and you can put that on either side. However, you want to make sure that as you put it in, there is a little lip there that needs to go in the rails. You want to make sure that you get that put in properly so that it doesn't come out when you're sliding it up and down. So then what we'll do is we will feed our magazine spring in. You can see that it has a little cutout to go in right there. This is where it's going to get a little bit difficult because you're going to need to feed the magazine spring in and maintain control of the spring. You want to make sure that it goes straight in there so that it is not anywhere in the middle of the magazine. Go ahead and hold that. It's going to be trying to escape on you. Make sure that it doesn't. And then take your base plate and very carefully capture that and make sure that it goes in the rails. And then it will snap in and that pin will come through that hole. Make sure that your follower has that tension on it and go ahead and load your snap caps back in it. Great, it's ready to go. Now we're going to reassemble the firearm, and to do that we're going to take our bolt, slide it back into the slide. Make sure you press it all the way forward. You can see that that tension on that spring wants to let it come out just a little bit. We don't want to let it come out. We're going to take our upper and we're going to reinsert onto our lower receiver. Press down until it snaps, and there you have it. Our firearm is reassembled. Now we'll make sure that we go through the function check and all the safety of putting this firearm back together. Now we want to function check the gun so that we make sure that everything has been reassembled properly. We're going to go ahead and we're going to insert our magazine with our snap caps. Make sure you hear that click and go ahead and chamber around into the gun. Making sure that your gun is on safe, go ahead, depress the trigger, make sure that there is no firing action going on in this gun. Flip to fire. You should hear that audible click. Cycle the firearm. Make sure that it does a reset. Then you can push it back to safe, and you'll have no firing whatsoever. So this gun has been reassembled correctly and it is functioning properly. And at this time, we will move on to the next project that we're going to do with this. Tune in next time and we'll have something new for the Mark IV 2245 Light. Thanks very much for watching.